Folks, an incredible moment just happened while Donald Trump held a meeting with governors at the White House. Governor Janet Mills, the Democratic governor of Maine, stood up to Trump and did not back down. And when he threatened her, she told him she would see him in court. You gotta watch this.
Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good. I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
Hello lovelies, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button because we have got a lot to talk about today. So something just went down at the White House and you need to see this. Maine Governor Janet Mills just stood up to Donald Trump in front of a room full of governors, and let's just say she did not back down. When Trump tried to strong-arm her into following his executive order, she hit him with a straight-up "see you in court." And you heard the way Trump reacted. Well, you already know the internet is having a field day with this one. Before we get into the details, the reactions and why this moment is so important, do me a quick favor, like this video, drop a comment and let me know your thoughts as we dive in. Now let's get into it.
I'm not feeling well, but I just jumped out of bed to make this video to show you guys. You have to see the governor of Maine, Janet Mills, just stood up to Trump, right to his face in front of all the other governors.
So in Trump humiliation news today, he tried to threaten Janet Mills, governor of Maine, by asking her if she would be complying with his order to no longer follow any anti-discrimination policies. When she refused, he threatened her and she just said, "See you in court."
Finally, a politician with some backbone standing up to Donald Trump. You have to see this video when he tries to strong-arm her into doing something that she says she won't.
So we need to talk about what the Maine governor, Janet Mills, did today in a room full of people when she told Donald Trump, "I will be following federal and state laws." And he exploded. She essentially, well, pretty clearly was saying, "I'm not going to follow some kind of law that you poop out of your stinky bunghole from that imaginary throne that you put yourself on. I'm following actual federal and state laws. I will see you in court." The way that Trump reacted, listen, we know he's a monster. We know he's a toxic narcissist. He's a racist. He's a Yahtzee. He's all sorts of things. We know that he's dangerous. But what he is turning into with all this power is nothing short of vile. His reaction was crazy. They are creating a monster of a different sort. And there's two things that I want to point out here. Number one, Janet Mills has more balls than every Republican in the House and in the Senate have combined. That woman, we need to lift her up. That's how everybody should be talking to Donald Trump, okay? But number two, on a more serious note, there is a reason that Melania sits next to him or stands next to him in a very dutiful way, very, very quiet. She doesn't gesture, she doesn't guide, she doesn't whisper, she does nothing but stand next to him obediently. His daughter is somewhat the same way, and I promise you, both of those women have seen that side of Donald Trump directed at them. I promise you, when they found a voice, especially as women, he showed up just like he did today with Janet Mills. I promise you. He's a monster.
My person of the day is the governor of Maine, Janet Mills, because Janet said, I ain't got no problem saying it to your face. You put no fear in my heart. I said it on TV. I said it in press conferences, and I'll say it right here in the White House. I said, I know that's right, Janet. In case you missed it, let me back it up quite a bit. So your boy signed an executive order barring trans women from girls' sports, from women's sports. And the issue with this is that an executive order is not a law. You can't do that. And he's trying to touch private actors and private companies with this. And unfortunately, private companies are acquiescing. I say unfortunately because the more that we treat these executive orders like they are a real thing, the more he continues to do that and the more our democracy shrinks. So the NCAA changed their policies behind this. The NCAA is not a government entity. Not a federal government entity either. He should not have any authority to do that, but they are scared and feel bullied and they just followed it. All right. So the governor of Maine and the state of Maine has not changed anything because they're like, that ain't no law, bye-bye. And so yesterday or earlier this week, or maybe earlier today, your boys in the press conference talking about, Maine hasn't followed this and they're going to be in trouble. They're going to lose federal funding. Now, mind you, the federal dollars that are allocated back to the states, you got from the state. So to try to pull federal funding from a state is just insane because we want to play them games. We can play them games. If California and New York feel petty, Kentucky, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, you may not want to play those games. All right. It will not end well in your favor. So anywho, so he's like, they're going to lose federal funding and this, that, and the other. Okay. So he summoned the governors to the White House today and they went. Many other Democratic governors went as well. I have no issue with that. One, because if you're going to have Janet Mills energy when you come in front of him, I have no issue with that. As long as you aren't in there kissing the ring and acting like he has more authority than he does, go, by all means. So they're in there, and after he talked ish about Janet to the side in a press conference, he said, I'm gonna call her out in front of everybody, right? He said, so he starts talking about this again. He's like, is the Maine governor here? Janet said, here I am. Yes, I'm here. It gave very much a Andy is energy for me. And so he was like, well, are you gonna comply? And she said, I'm complying with federal and state law. Because Janet understands an executive order is not the law. Well, we are federal law. No, you're not. You're not. And so he's like, you better do it. You better do it. This is what he's saying to a governor, a duly elected governor. You better do it. And Janet, in the face of tyranny, in the face of a dictator, in the face of a clown, says, I'll see you in court. When I tell you I screamed. And that got him a stuttering. Well, I look forward to it. I look forward to it. People don't, he's the emperor and the emperor's new clothes. People don't tell him the truth to his face. And Janet said, I'll do it. I'll do it. Anybody scared of you? Good day. I'll do it. All that tickled me. And other big thing, I'm not here to debate. I'm never going to debate the rights and the access and those kind of things of marginalized groups. I'm not going to do it. But I will tell you this. If you yourself are part of a marginalized group, be it race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, you should be concerned that a president took pen to paper and signed something to deny access for a group, a very small group at that. That should raise alarm bells for you. That's not what presidents typically do with executive orders, even the ones they have the authority to do. So, for example, a president has the authority to direct the military. And what's been a really common, popular executive order, like I'm actually watching Henry Louis Gates' documentary on the Great Migration, and they mentioned this executive order there. There have been several executive orders like related to the military and desegregation of the military and things like that. That's a giving access. But to use it to deny or to take away something, yeah, that energy should scare every single body. And the other thing is, it's not a law, but people are treating it as such. That should also scare you as well. So in the world of Greg Abbott's and Ron DeSantis's, be a Janet Mills.
Trump is really enjoying pretending like he has complete and total power with no checks and balances whatsoever. But today, Maine's governor, Janet Mills, not having it. She brought the energy we like to see. Yes, she did. When being confronted, because Trump called her out personally in front of the governors of the various states, when being confronted about her plans to comply with his executive order about removing transgender athletes from sports, she said, we're complying with all federal and state law. And he says, we are the federal government. I am the federal government, which, as we know, there are three branches. So the executive is not the entire federal government. Thank you. Thank you, Trump. And he says to her, are you going to comply? You better comply, because if you don't comply, you're not getting any federal funding, which I'm not a legal expert, but I feel like that's not legal. But that's what he says. He says, you better comply or you're not getting any federal funds, threatening her and her state to withhold federal funding if she does not capitulate to what he says is law. And what was her response? She just says, I'll see you in court. And of course, Trump replies back snarkily and says, oh, yeah, well, I'll see you in court. That should be an easy one. Why is our president going toe-to-toe with a state governor in a really condescending, aggressive manner like that? Y'all, I'm a teacher, a high school teacher, and sometimes I have to get kids, I have to put them in their place. I have to say, you've got to listen. You've got to chill. You've got to do what you're told. You've got to, be reasonable here. And I don't ever speak to kids in the condescending and dismissive and disrespectful tone that he just used for a colleague, essentially. He's not the king. He's the president, and they're supposed to be working in tandem. But he has this attitude like he is the king and everybody better bow at his feet or he's going to threaten them. I don't think he was ready for somebody to stand up to him like that. You know what? So good for you, Janet Mills. Good for you. More people in our government need to have that kind of attitude where they look Trump right in his eyes and say, no, I'll see you in court. I'm not going to bow the knee. I'm not going to do whatever you say just because you say it's law. And, I'm gonna take this the legal route. So, anyways.
Maine Governor Janet Mills standing up to Donald Trump in that meeting with the governors is a major moment, and the reactions to it shows just how divided people are. When Trump tried to pressure her into following his executive order, her response, "See you in court," was not just a statement, it was a direct challenge, and it speaks to a larger issue about executive power, states' rights, and how much authority Trump thinks he has over individual governors. Now, let's break this down. First, the way Trump operates has always been about dominance. He likes to project power, control the narrative, and make sure that people fall in line. When he walked into that room, he expected everyone to nod, agree, and follow his lead. But Mills, she wasn't having it. That response, "see you in court," isn't just defense. It's a legal threat, and it means she is confident that whatever Trump is trying to push is unconstitutional, or at the very least, legally questionable. And let's be real, Trump has a history of signing executive orders that don't always hold up in court, and people online are reacting strongly to this. On one side, Trump supporters are saying this proves that Democratic leaders are soft, that they don't care about law and order, and that Mills is just another example of why they believe liberals are running the country. Some of them are even calling her a tyrant for refusing to comply, which is ironic because Trump is the only one trying to enforce something without proper legal backing. On the other side, progressive and even some moderates are cheering her on. They see her as someone who is standing up to authoritarianism. They are saying, finally, a leader with a backbone. Because let's be honest, there are a lot of politicians who just go along with Trump's orders, even when they know they are questionable, just to avoid the drama. Mills didn't care about that. She said what she said, and she's ready to back it up in court. Well, let's talk about why she might be resisting this executive order. What exactly is in it? We know Trump has been pushing a lot of policy that target immigrants, restrict voting rights, and even affect things like environmental protections. If Mills is pushing back, it's likely because she believes this order either violates the Constitution or would directly harm the people of Maine. And if she is willing to take this to court, she must believe there is a strong case to be made. And historically, governors have gone to court over federal overreach before. We have seen states sue presidents over immigration, healthcare, environmental laws, and more. Sometimes the states win, sometimes they lose, but it always comes down to whether the executive order was actually constitutional. And in Trump's case, a lot of his past orders have been blocked by courts because they were rushed, vague, or just outright illegal. So my saying, "see you in court," isn't just a throwaway comment. It's a direct challenge to Trump's power, and that is why this moment is getting so much attention. One interesting thing people are pointing out is how Trump reacted. Instead of challenging her legally, explaining his reasoning, or even trying to negotiate, he just got mad, and that tells you a lot. Because a president who was confident in their decision would say, "Fine, take it to court, we will win." But instead, Trump got floated, and when he gets floated, he lashes out. That is his pattern. He attacks, calls names, or tries to intimidate, and people online are saying that Miles was able to shake him up with just one sentence. So what's happened next? If Miles follows through, we are looking at legal battle that could go all the way to the Supreme Court. And with how the courts are stacked right now, especially with Trump's judicial appointments, this will be a very interesting case to watch. It's not just about Mena. If she wins, it could set a precedent that other states could use to challenge Trump on other executive orders. But if she loses, it could give Trump even more power to enforce his policy without state interference. At the end of the day, this is a bigger than just a governor and a president arguing. This is about the balance of power between the federal government and individual states. The fact that so many people are invested in this shows how much is at stake. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Miles did the right thing by standing up to Trump, or do you think she should have complied? Drop a comment below. Like this video if you found this breakdown helpful, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this and other political stories. See you in the next one.